Hello, this is Hilton Samuel of God Wants You Married, and welcome to another session of the biblical formula for getting the desire of your heart. We spoke about three things. We spoke about prayer, we spoke about preparation, and now we're dealing with pursuit. With me, we have the very wonderful Ebony Empress.
Hi everyone.
Right, great. And we are going to continue the conversation. How do you actually pursue and what's involved in the pursuit of marriage? Or should you simply sit and wait and twiddle your fingers and be pursued?
Well, we don't want to do that.
Okay.
Because I think for most people, the sitting around waiting doesn't work. Okay.
Yes.
So we do want to know how we can actively engage in the process and get the outcome that we want.
Without looking desperate. Without looking desperate. You know, because I was actually thinking this week, you know, there are some people, particularly in the modern and postmodern world, who actually think that they're entitled to be pursued. In other words, they're pretty enough, they have worked hard enough, they have education, they have built maybe an empire or wealth, or they have what it takes, what it needs. They think they're there. And that gives them a sense of entitlement. And
I can understand that.
Yeah.
Why would you put all that effort in? Why would you do the work? When, you know, I think there's this other way of thinking that some people have, that, you know, if someone really wants something, they really want a relationship with you, they will pursue you.
Yes.
You do not have to even think about it.
Okay.
You know, so from my point of view, I'd be like, well, you know, if a guy's into me, he needs to, you know, I don't need to.
Yes, he needs to put the work in.
He should be doing the work without me even saying anything. So do I need to pursue? I guess you'll need to tell me.
Well, yes and no. I have a different paradigm, and of recent I came up with this kind of, because whatever you want, you need to take ownership. You need to take responsibility for making it happen.
Okay.
If you want career, if you want education, if you want a house, if you want to build wealth, you still need to take ownership. The way you go about it may be markedly different. And similarly, you know, it comes back to this whole, sometimes, actually last week, I was at a panel discussion, and somebody asked the question, should women initiate a relationship, which is really a perennial question.
Yes.
And there was a pastor there, and he said, well, look, you know, his opinion and default stance is that men are hunters and men should take leadership role and front up. You know, I came away and I thought, I wonder, that concept, that analogy came from an era where men were actually hunters.
Right.
And they went out and got the food and brought it in, and the woman cooked it, and there was a very defined mark role for the male and the female. In today's age, that category is kind of merged. In fact, there are as many women out there working and bringing in money, sometimes more money than their male counterparts. And sometimes I ask myself the question, when did you actually last see a man going down the road with a bow and arrow or taking up a gun, you know?
You don't.
So that concept, you know, we've moved on in more ways than one.
But have we moved on in relationships?
that's
Because
a
I
good question.
think a lot
That's a
of
good
people
question.
are still in an era where they believe, yes, they believe that it's really important that the person who wants to be in a relationship with them, the person who's interested, needs to make that first move. And I think that's a challenge to hear tonight, whether, you know, it could work differently if we did something differently.
Right, that's what I'm saying. The first point I want to make is that if you want something to happen, you need to take responsibility of making it happen. And I am not suggesting in any way, shape or form that you have to do it exactly like a man would do it, but I'm saying take responsibility, take ownership, that if you want a marriage, if you want a relationship, there are things you can do to encourage it to happen, to initiate it, to, there's a word I'm looking for, to catalyze it. You know, you could actually create an environment where things happen. It is not enough to sit around, wait for God to send someone to knock on your door. I mean, he does and can, And miracles do happen. I'm not discounting it or in any way suggesting that it will never happen. Now, all I'm saying is that from my experience working in this area and working with many people, the converse is true. I believe in the philosophy that you should ask, seek, knock, and allow God to lead, guide, and, in the Holy Spirit to work with you. You will see greater success in that manner.
Okay. What about people who, say as a woman, you're trying to pursue, and we haven't yet got into the real skills of how you make that
Yes, I'm
happen.
happy. Yes.
Suppose you come across a guy who is in that old way of thinking, is very traditional, doesn't see it as your role. How are you going to get past that? Because I think some women will be prepared to do it. A lot of women will be prepared to do it, but they're going to worry about how men see it. How are they hearing this? Yes. What is their perception when they hear you, when they see you actually taking the lead and making the first move?
What I didn't say is actually what is involved, for both. I actually also believe that there is a feminine way of pursuing and a masculine way of pursuing. I actually think that, sometimes you don't have to come out and say, well, you're going to be my future husband, can we have a relationship? You don't have to really.
I'll try that.
Yeah, you can if you want, and there are some people who have done that, but I'm not necessarily recommending that route. Okay. There are ways to avail yourself. There are ways to actually get involved in that conversation. Let me give you a quick example. I was speaking the other day, actually last night, to a young lady, and we were talking about relationship. That's my most favorite topic. Okay. You could guess. And she was saying to me that she had, when she was at uni, she had a best friend. The best friend was a young man, and she didn't find out until later that he was interested in her.
Right.
And by then, she, wow, she thought we would make a good match. At that point, the later stage. But by then, he had already gone off. And I said, well, what happened? So this is a very good point to inject one of the things in terms of pursuit.
Right.
If you're a good friend and you have a platonic relationship, how do you take it up the next level? Everything was actually in place for her to make it happen. Right. Because she said to me, her friends used to ask her, you sure there was nothing going on between both of you? And, different little hints like that. And what I would say is that she could have used that as a platform to start a conversation. If you're very good friends, you're going out and you think you want to move up, she could have simply said to the guy, my friends keep teasing me. Because you're good friends, it's an easy conversation to have. My friends, just the other day, my friends were asking me about the both of us. What do you think about that?
Right.
And you throw the ball into his court and you open up a discussion around that.
Okay. And
obviously, he could go back and forth. He could say what he wants, and then you would say, and he might throw it back to you. What do you think? Do you really want to? And the conversation, I can't give people an exact script, but the principle would be, you know what? You're not a bad fellow, And if I were to get married, somebody like you would be an ideal husband.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back into the court and we go back and forth. And that's an easy route to funnel a conversation, moving it on from platonic to intimate.
Okay.
Another example I want to give quickly is that sometimes maybe you don't want to use what your friends are saying. The two of you may even watch a movie, or you may see a documentary on television, and you could introduce it. There were two very good friends, and they hung out with each other. They had all the necessary components of a solid relationship. And, they went their separate ways, and after 2 failed marriages, his marriage failed, they got back together again. And they found out they were the best for each other. And, you discuss that plot, and you say, I would never really like that to happen to me. You know? Again, that's a platform to introduce the conversation. So you don't have to be direct and front on with that, given the fact, I think you drew the illustration that some men don't like that.
Yeah.
You know, so there are different ways methods you can use to introduce that conversation.
Okay, so I introduce the conversation. I get a little bit of a knockback. Okay. So I find out that maybe the person doesn't feel the way that I would like them to feel, or they don't feel the same as I feel.
Yeah.
How do you handle the rejection and still go back into keep the friendship going? Because there's always going to be an issue around the rejection. You know, how do we handle rejection? Because you can pursue someone, you can put something out there, but you're not always going to get the answer back that suits you.
Well, I'll tell you what you do. And initially what happens when sometimes the person may not even be thinking about it.
Right.
In the way you have started to think about it.
That's right.
But you've dropped a seed. You've planted a thought, you have put a nugget, and the person will go away and the nugget could germinate. So sometimes you will not get an immediate response then and there on the spot, because the person may have to go away and think about it. The person may think, oh, you know, I just see you as a friend and nothing else. And because of the way you've introduced the conversation, you have actually cushioned the blow, rather than if you said, oh, can we be intimate or...
So I suppose it's being careful not to suggest we will definitely be together.
Yes, you open the possibility.
Yeah, you just
open the possibility and you discuss that. So that cushions. And if the person doesn't actually take the bite, that also allows you to, with some integrity, ease back. So what you want to do from here on out, you know, it still will hurt. You know, there's no way. I must admit.
There's no way past the hurt.
No, there's no way past it.
Yeah.
So what you want to do is to begin to disengage. You don't want to be investing as much as you used to do. So you want to take back your time, you want to take back your energy, you want to take back the activities. So because of where you are, you cannot continue to invest to that degree in that relationship. So if you've been going out on weekends with this person, if you're talking to the person past 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the night, if you're always there, if the person calls you at the drop of a hat, you got to stop doing all of that. Because those would be investing in a relationship that may or may not go anywhere. Now the thing about that is that when you begin to backpedal or decrease, decrease, the person may begin to miss what they had. You know, the amount of time, the amount of energy, that banter that you had, and that in and of itself there's no guarantee with this, may begin a process of him or her thinking about, you know, she really has something, or he really has something that I think could make it work, because the platform of friendship is always there, and they may come back to you and continue that conversation again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I suppose maybe the only question for me would be, when the person comes back, are they genuinely coming back because they want a relationship, or they're just attached to that connection? Because some people are, aren't they? You know, some people like to have someone in their life who's continuously feeding them, as it were. Okay, but they don't necessarily want the relationship.
Yes. So that is where you need to be clear.
Yeah.
You need to be clear with, you know, for the investment. I call it an investment.
Yeah,
it's romantic
it's your
investment.
time.
Yes, your time, your energy.
You
know, for what you want, are you willing? Are you willing to give it free? It's like, you know, it's actually giving. And you would have to determine whether or not I would recommend, my recommendation is to say, well, look, at this point in time, you know, we're going in different ways, different directions in life, and you know, it's just not going to work. Some people want they still want to have the friendship, I don't recommend that you continue that level of friendship.
No.
It's not my recommendation, and I don't think it is wise either. Some people still want to hang on, but it gets nasty. Well, not nasty, it gets kind of messy. Yes, it gets kind of messy. So you have to be clear in your head, what is it that you want? And if you're not, and if there's no possibility of getting it, you know, if this person is just mucking about or just want you for the sake, but particularly if you're a woman, if a man is in your life, a lot of men kind of respect the fact that there is a man there, and they're not going to approach you, even though you are what platonic friends.
Yeah.
It tends to, they tend to look at it and figure, you know what, just not. There are some bold men who would try to, but generally speaking, most people won't. Most people won't. So you need to free up that space.
Yeah,
you need to free up the
space. Some people are in those almost emotional bondage situations.
Yes. I like your bondage.
Well, they are, because they're locked into relationships that are undefined.
Yes.
Okay. So I have this friendship. I have that friendship with someone who calls me. We talk. What do we talk about?
Yeah.
Probably, you know, stuff to do with our lives, but no connection that is about a defined relationship.
So go on.
Some women find it hard to move that out of an undefined relationship to a defined relationship. And I think that what you've said helps, you know, be absolutely clear. You know, sometimes we're not clear.
Yeah, they have this thing they call DTR, define the relationship.
Oh, very good.
Define the relationship. Yeah. DTR, get this. If you're locked in that relationship, what do you call it? Emotional bondage?
Bondage.
And there comes a point where you need to ask, you know, and sometimes you need to be straight up with it. You know, what do we have here? Where is this going? And you know, men are funny. Men, I'm going to say this, don't stone me, don't. There is an old saying, if you can get the milk, why buy the cow?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And this does not necessarily have to do with sex or anything like that. There are times that you call it emotional bondage, where people are feeding off you emotionally. Nothing intimate might be going on, but they are locking off your time, you're feeding on your energy, and you're there for them, but they have someone else that they're chasing, and you know, you get to be the shoulder that they come and lean on, and if you need, you know, you need to be careful about that. So you need to be clear, define the relationship, and sometimes you have to confront the person. It may not be easy, but you need to confront the person. You know, what's happening? Where are we going? Is there, you know, to follow on that. There's a little nuance there in defining the relationship. Look, if you think that the relationship can go further, then you need to define it. If you're happy with just having a platonic relationship, then that's fine. So it's clarity in your mind.
Yeah.